Okay, welcome everyone to the 21st Century Man podcast.
Great to be here.
In each deep dive, we explore a chapter from the book, The 21st Century Man. We really try to pull out the most important insight.
Yeah, the actionable stuff.
Exactly. And today we're turning to chapter 45, How to Quit Smoking. It's authored by Adriana Bustamonte and Lucia Romo, both PhDs.
A really well-researched chapter.
Our goal really is just to unpack the strategies and resources they lay out to help you understand, maybe navigate that whole journey of quitting. It's tough.
It really is, and it's such an important chapter, like you said. It gives a pretty clear roadmap for something many people find incredibly difficult.
Mm-hmm.
They start strong, too, with that quote. The best time to quit smoking is the day you started. The second best time to quit is today.
Yeah, that quote really cuts to the chase, doesn't it? It sort of acknowledges the past, but bam, right back to the present.
Exactly.
And the book dives straight into that big question, is quitting just a matter of willpower?
Right, and their answer is, well, it's nuanced. They basically say, yes, willpower is absolutely necessary. You need it to even start.
Uh-huh.
But, and this is key, they're very clear that willpower alone just isn't enough for most people.
Right. Because most smokers know it's bad for them, right? They've probably tried before.
Exactly. The desire, the knowledge, it's often there. But addiction is just, it's more complicated than just wanting something different, you know?
That complexity, it really highlights that inner conflict the book describes, that feeling of being pulled in two directions.
Totally. You've got the part of you that logically knows, hey, this is harmful, I want to stop. That's your prefrontal cortex, the rational bit.
The planner.
The planner, yeah. Weighing the dangers, making conscious choices. But then there's that massive pull, the craving, that primal urge.
Ah, the reptilian brain bit they mentioned?
Precisely. That brainstem area, basic needs, nicotine addiction sort of hijacks it.
Yeah.
Makes the need for a cigarette feel almost as fundamental as like hunger. It's automatic.
Wow. So in that craving moment, it's like your rational brain is duking it out with this hijacked survival instinct.
Pretty much. And the book points out that internal negotiation, it just drains your energy. Without a proper strategy, that primal urge often wins because it's just faster, it's automatic.
Makes sense. It becomes an automatism, as they call it.
Exactly. It stops being, a totally free choice much of the time, even if you associate it with pleasure or relief, sometimes even disgust at the same time.
That's tricky.
Very. Because people can confuse quitting smoking with quitting enjoyment or, quitting my stress relief. Understanding that link is so important.
So it's not just physical, it's untangling that whole mental connection too, finding new ways to feel good or cope.
Spot on. And the book stresses you need to look at the biological, the psychological, and the sociocultural factors. Just tackling one piece usually doesn't work.
Which leads back to the idea that quitting is personal, sure, but way more successful with support.
Absolutely. Willpower gets you to the starting line, but you need strategies and support to actually run the race and finish it. Just trying to tough it out ignores how dependency actually works.
Okay, so let's get into the path they lay out. The book gives this clear step-by-step approach. It seems designed to get you ready for those cravings.
Yeah, it's all about preparing, anticipating the hurdles, and knowing what resources you have. Step one is the compass.
A compass.
Right.
Okay, sounds like finding your why, your direction.
Exactly that. It's foundational. The book pushes you to really define the life you want. It asks those big questions like, what's truly important to me? What gives my life meaning? They even suggest that exercise, imagining yourself in 10 years, what does that ideal future look like?
I like that. It makes you look at your daily stuff, like smoking, and ask, does this actually fit with where I want to go?
Precisely. Connecting the effort of quitting to building that meaningful life. That provides some serious motivation. That clear purpose, that's your compass guiding you.
Okay, compass sorted, direction found. Then comes step 2, the plan.
Right. Got the destination, now you need the map. The book outlines 3 main stages: preparation, then the actual quitting phase, and finally maintenance or relapse prevention.
And each needs different kinds of support, they say.
Yeah, each stage has its own challenges, so you need tailored strategies and support for each one.
Let's break those down. Starting with preparation, what does that involve?
Okay, so they suggest starting this about 2 weeks before your quit date. And the key here is adopting an observer's attitude.
Observing, like watching yourself smoke.
Kind of, yeah. Paying really close attention to your habits.
Yeah.
When do you smoke? Where? Why? What situations make cravings easy to handle, and which ones feel like, high-risk territory.
Like after a big argument or being out with friends who smoke or just that automatic cigarette with coffee.
Exactly those things. The crucial part in preparation is anticipating those specific challenges before you actually stop.
So you're not caught off guard.
Right. They suggest using a researcher's mindset. Brainstorm ways to cope in those specific situations. Maybe even try a few coping strategies out beforehand. And this is also when you line up your support.
Right, the different types of support we mentioned earlier.
Yep. For the biological side, that might mean talking to a doctor about nicotine substitutes or maybe medication. For the psychological and social stuff, therapy can be key. Learning new skills, like how to say no politely or manage stress differently.
And the book really drives home how much the support matters for success rates.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Pretty stark. They cite figures suggesting therapeutic and medical support can boost success rates up to around 20%, compared to maybe only 5% for people trying totally on their own. That's a fourfold difference.
Wow.
And they also mention that combining psychotherapy with pharmacotherapy often gives the best results overall.
They also suggest seeing a tobacco specialist.
Yeah, especially if you've tried quitting before and struggled. A professional can help dig into those deeper psychosocial reasons for past relapses, maybe irritability, worries about weight gain, specific stress triggers, and really personalize your plan.
Gotcha. What about things like hypnosis or acupuncture?
The book mentions them briefly, but notes that, well, at the time it was written, the research evidence showing they definitively work for smoking cessation wasn't quite there yet. So focus on the evidence-based stuff first.
Okay, so preparation done, then you hit the quitting phase, setting the date, and actually stopping.
Right, and you can choose your method: stop completely, abruptly, or maybe taper down gradually. If you're using substitutes or meds, you might have already started always in the prep phase.
And the goal here isn't just not smoking.
No, the book frames it more broadly. It's about learning. Learning about nicotine's effects on you, understanding your emotions when cravings hit, and practicing how to actually manage those urges.
And they give that practical tool, the 4D strategy.
The 4Ds, yeah, they're brilliant because they're simple and you can do them anywhere. It's delay, just wait a few minutes, cravings usually pass. Drink water, gives you something to do, changes the physical sensation. Take a deep breath, helps calm your nervous system right down. And distract yourself. Shift your focus onto literally anything else.
Simple but effective. Now, withdrawal symptoms, that's the scary part for many.
It really is. They're a major reason people relapse, especially in those first 3 months. Feeling anxious, irritable, maybe finding it hard to concentrate. It's not pleasant.
But the book offers a different way to think about them.
Yes, and it's powerful. They suggest reframing those symptoms as proof your body is healing. It's clearing out the junk, recovering for the dependence. So in a weird way, they're actually a good sign.
That's a great mental switch, turning a negative into evidence of progress.
Exactly. And every time you get through a craving using a strategy like the 4Ds or a substitute, you're basically retraining your brain. You're weakening that old pathway and strengthening a new smoke-free one.
Okay, makes sense. Which brings us to phase 3, maintenance and relapse prevention.
Right. This usually kicks in around the 3-month mark. By then, withdrawal symptoms are typically much better, and you're starting to really feel the benefits: breathing easier, more energy, maybe more money in your pocket.
But the danger isn't totally gone.
No, temptations can definitely still pop up. So the focus shifts to making those coping strategies you learned a long-term habit. Consistency is key.
And there's one really crucial piece of advice for this stage.
Oh yeah, absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Do not take
Agree.
4,
Just
1, 1.
Just one.
The book is really firm on this. Even a single cigarette can wake up those old addiction pathways and pull you right back into regular smoking surprisingly quickly.
Wow. Okay. But there's good news too, right? Long term.
Definitely. They offer a really encouraging statistic. After about 2 years smoke-free, your chances of staying smoke-free long-term jump to around 95%. Persistence really, really pays off.
That's amazing. Now, the book doesn't just talk theory. It gives concrete examples of tools. It looks closely at a mobile app called Quit.
Yeah, Quit gets a good look as a case study in digital support. Interesting backstory, too, apparently created by someone who struggled to quit themselves.
So born from experience.
Seems like it. And the app itself is built on solid ground cognitive behavioral therapy principles, CBT, which is all about changing thoughts and behaviors. Plus, they mix in game mechanics to keep you engaged.
Making it feel less like a chore, maybe?
Exactly. Less like therapy, more like a challenge you can manage. It's designed to help with withdrawal, give you perspective, help you use those coping strategies we talked about, substitution, relaxation, and just keep you motivated day to day.
What are some of the features they highlight?
Well, there's a main dashboard that tracks your progress in really clear, motivating ways. Things like money saved, cigarettes not smoked, even estimated gains in life expectancy or health improvements.
Visual reinforcement.
Right. And it celebrates milestones, your first day, smoke-free, first week, month, whatever, little virtual pats on the back.
And it has that specific tool for when a craving actually hits.
Yes, the craving management tool. That sounds really useful. When you feel an urge, you hit a button, log, maybe what emotion you're feeling, what situation you're in.
Why log it?
The idea is to help you understand your personal triggers, your automatic responses, what situations make you vulnerable, so you can anticipate the risk next time. It turns the craving into like a data point for learning.
That's smart, making it a learning moment instead of just suffering through it.
Exactly. And then the app suggests strategies right there, maybe guides you through a quick breathing exercise. Apparently, you can even shake your phone for a motivational quote.
That's fun.
Yeah, little things to get you through that critical window, because cravings usually only last, 3 to 5 minutes. The app just helps keep you busy and focused on a positive action during that time.
So it really is like that pocket coach idea I mentioned in the book.
That sums it up perfectly. It's there with you, offering encouragement. They even mention a supportive Facebook group linked to it.
And the impact. The book mentions some stats.
Yeah, they were pretty impressive at the time of writing, mind you. Things like users avoiding over 1 billion cigarettes collectively, saving hundreds of millions of dollars, gaining thousands of years of life expectancy. It really shows how powerful, accessible, tech-based support can be.
Where can people find it?
The book says eSwit.app, KWIT.app, or just search in the usual app stores.
Good to know. Okay, beyond apps, the book goes into detail on the medical side, tackling the physical dependence.
Yeah, this is super important because, like we said, nicotine physically changes your brain chemistry. It creates dependence. So nicotine substitutes, NRTs, help manage those really intense cravings and withdrawal symptoms.
Wow.
By giving you nicotine, but without all the other harmful stuff in smoke, like tar and carbon monoxide, it eases the withdrawal. The book strongly advises talking to a doctor first, though, to figure out your dependence level and get the right dose.
And they warn against something called compensatory smoking. What's that?
Yeah, that's when someone tries to cut down or maybe switches to light cigarettes, but then without realizing it, they start inhaling deeper or holding the smoke in longer.
You get the same nicotine hit.
Exactly. So they end up getting just as much nicotine and harmful stuff anyway. NRTs avoid that completely because you get a clean nicotine dose without having to smoke at all. It breaks that cycle.
Makes sense. What about actual prescription medications?
The book covers 3 main types that studies show can basically double your chances of quitting long-term compared to going it alone. First is NRT itself. Patches, gum, lozenges, sprays. All forms are effective. They say use them for at least 3 months.
Okay.
Then there are 2 prescription meds. Bupropion, it was originally an antidepressant, but it helps reduce cravings and withdrawal. Obviously discuss pros and cons with your doctor. And varenicline, that one, was specifically designed to target nicotine receptors, easing withdrawal and blocking nicotine's effects if you slip up.
And these meds are more effective.
The book highlights that bupropion and varenicline seem particularly good at stopping cravings and really boost long-term success, even compared to NRT alone.
Interesting. What about combining different NRTs?
Yes, the book says that can be really effective, like using a patch for a steady baseline dose all day, and then using gum or a lozenge for sudden breakthrough cravings.
Can you start NRT before you quit?
Yeah, they actually mentioned you can start using NRTs about 2 weeks before your quit date. Kind of eases you into it.
And what if you slip up while using NRT?
Crucial point they make. Don't stop the NRT if you have a cigarette. Keep using it. It can actually protect you, reduce the chances of a full relapse, and make it easier to get right back on track.
Okay, that's really important advice. Dosage. Any tips there?
Just practical advice. If you're using substitutes but still getting really strong urges to smoke, you're probably underdosed. Don't be afraid of getting enough nicotine from the substitute. It's not toxic like smoke, and you need enough to manage the withdrawal based on your previous smoking habit.
Right. And finally, the book touches on vaping.
It does, yeah. It presents vaping as a potential tool for quitting, but emphasizes doing it with guidance from a health professional.
And the benefit.
The main thing is that using e-cigarettes without tobacco drastically reduces your exposure to the harmful stuff you get from burning tobacco. significantly less risk than cigarettes.
Hmm.
They also mention studies suggesting vape users often manage to cut down their tobacco use and might use vapes more frequently or for longer than other substitutes, which could be helpful for managing those persistent cravings. But again, professional guidance is recommended.
So the big picture is clear. Support comes in lots of forms: medical, tech, behavioral.
Absolutely. And the authors keep coming back to that core message. You really don't have to, and probably shouldn't try to, do this all by yourself.
What other support systems do they mention?
Well, beyond the medical and apps, they point to things like self-help books, online communities, forums, even structured internet-based programs. Research shows these things do help, definitely better than no support at all.
And things like apps help with commitment.
Yeah, because they give you that positive reinforcement, tracking progress, sending messages, giving feedback. It helps keep you engaged.
Okay. And the book is also really realistic about relapse.
Oh, completely.
Okay.
They handle it with a lot of empathy. It's framed not as, you failed, but as a really common part of the process, almost expected for many.
An opportunity to learn, they say.
Exactly. It's a chance to learn more about your specific triggers, your habits, how you react under pressure.
So the message isn't "you blew it," it's "what can we learn?"
Precisely.
Yeah.
If a slip happens, the advice is use it. Analyze it. Maybe log it in your app, talk about it in a support group, write it down, figure out what led to it, learn from it for the next time, and importantly, remember all the progress you did make before the slip. It's just a detour, not the end of the road.
This chapter in the 21st Century Man, it really feels like such a complete guide. It's practical, it's empowering. It goes way beyond just saying quit smoking.
It really does.
It gives you the why, the how, the tools. It makes it feel less overwhelming. Having that detailed map, that compassionate guidance, it must make a huge difference.
I completely agree. The way they break down the brain science, then link it directly to practical steps like the compass and the plan, and then lay out all these different resources, quit, the meds, NRT details, it's just incredibly well structured, very actionable.
It makes a tough goal feel, maybe achievable.
Yeah. And reading the full chapter in the book, you get even more nuance, more detail. It's definitely worth it for anyone thinking seriously about quitting.
Absolutely. So wrapping up our deep dive on chapter 45, the key takeaways. Quitting is tough. It needs more than just willpower. Understanding the biopsychosocial stuff is vital.
And having a purpose, your compass, plus a plan, and using support systems, whether that's medical help, apps, community, that drastically boosts your chances.
And maybe most importantly, relax is part of the learning curve, not the end game. Don't give up.
Exactly. It's a journey, challenging for sure, but totally possible with the right approach and support, which this chapter lays out so well.
We really do recommend checking out The 21st Century Man for the full chapter, and honestly, the whole book's worth exploring.
So much valuable stuff in there.
Okay, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. Thanks so much for joining us on the 21st Century Man podcast.
My pleasure.
Be sure to join us next time when we'll be diving into chapter 46, Understanding Alcohol Overuse.